Hello and welcome back to the Roads of Elden Ring DLC edition. Last time we ventured down the Elec River over here, and this time we will have a look at this area that we unlocked last episode. This is the Cerulean Coast. Cerulean because it's blue, and coast because we're on the coast. Wow. Amazing naming scheme, I know. Looks pretty nice. And this is probably the only area where I'm fine with rain, because it fits the aesthetics. And quite mysterious, isn't it? The looks, I mean. We have these ship type things made out of stone everywhere in this area. You can see a big one over there. That's probably the biggest one, and then a few scattered around. And these big ass tombstones that are reinforced with smaller tombstones. Isn't that nice? It looks quite picturesque. Having a look at the map, we see a few things here. First thing we see, we have two paths that we can take. One to the west and one to the south. When we go to the south, we have two paths again, one to the east and one further down to the south. And we also have this island, which is reminiscent to... not Leyndell, but this island over here. And it's a similar kind of thing where we can reach this island by a underwater tunnel. And I think it's even depicted here, maybe not. Whatever, it should be here. That's quite right. But yeah, where do we go first? I would say we go to the west first, because this ultimately leads to a dead end. We will also explore the island first then. It's a bit hard to see where we can go here, because not only can we go to the west over here, but then we also have this part where we can go kind of in between these big cliff parts and then in here, and this is where we end up at. And this place we've seen from the prospect town, this part. And also, well, we have seen a lot of things, but this is where we head first. While we're going there, there's not really much going on here. There are a few enemies scattered around, mainly these, well, shadowy type ghost enemies here. Even the animal, no, not the animals, never mind, but these, I mean the dogs are animals, so I'm not that wrong. But that's basically it. That's this area. Of course, there are a few more dangerous enemies coming up soon. But this is basically the majority. It's just a beautiful looking area with a lot of not that dangerous enemies and a few fairly dangerous enemies. As you can see right there, we have a cemetery shade, I think these are called. Is that correct? I think so, right? And these are quite dangerous. If you can't stagger them and you're getting staggered by them, then you're going to have a bad time. Now we can actually have a look at them and get a better look at them, because they have this weird insect thing on their head. Looks kind of like the big two feeler type thingies, the hairy ones, are like the feelers of a moth or something. And then they have these leg things that are kind of reminiscent of the spider scorpions that we have in this DLC as well. And for some reason they have like holes in their chests. Looks quite gruesome. There's one shade over here, and there should be another shade over this place. I mean, now that I think of it, like the enemy variety is quite nice. And like there are definitely more enemies in this area than in a few other areas that we've seen so far. But it doesn't really feel that way. Like we have grave birds here, we have the cemetery shade, we have these worm ghost thingies that look quite silly. Another cemetery shade over there. Like over there at the tree. Then these flying balls of electricity. And a nice looking contrast. Like the torches on that mausoleum over there. And the cemetery shade looking in that direction. Looks quite nice, doesn't it? Over there is a site of grace. And I don't really know where they even built these things in this game. I can't really remember. I mean, this is not my playstyle, but I can't really remember taking one of these routes. Because technically what you can do... Why can't I activate this one? Oh no, I can, okay. Was there an enemy too close, or... Well... I can never remember. I can't, no. I've never done this, because this is technically a alternative route, or route that you can take. You can start this area by jumping down these tombstones over here. And it's quite the long way down. Let's have a look. Let me run back a bit. That's quite the long way down. And you have to be up here, which is also a fairly dangerous area, and we will see that in a few episodes, I think, because there is a furnace golem standing here. But technically, you can reach the red area by exploring a bit into the dragon area here. When you go through the dragon pit, you will emerge somewhere over here. And then if you go south, you will reach the big dead dragon over here. And from this part, you can enter the red area. And if you make your way through the red area, either by jumping over here or by following this path slightly underneath this cliff part, you can reach this area as well. But I always feel like this is the longer route, but it's an alternative, and it's quite nice that they've built this in the game, even though probably not that many players will take this route. Let me know if you've taken that route. Probably not, but... well. So now we have two options when we're standing here. The obvious option is going in between the cliffs And this is what I will do now too, because we actually haven't found the way to the island here quite yet. In order to find that one, we need to be a bit more thorough, because currently we've missed it. And here we will find another enemy type. And if you haven't explored certain dungeons yet, like for example the Bellora jail, then this enemy in front of you, right here, will surprise you. And I'm talking about a very specific demi-human, this one over there. Because this is a new type of demi-human. There are only 2 of these. This one, and then one as a boss in a dungeon. I think even the Bellora jail. That might be the right one, or maybe another one. But these are quite dangerous. They have this very strange looking weapon, which is of the katana class. And man, they fight like Yoda, basically. But now we are in demi-human territory, and look how nice this area looks. We have like left and right these waterfalls flowing into, well, into this area and in between these cliffs. We have like this spraying rain, whatever. How do you call that? It's like mist, it's like water mist. Very fine drops of water that are not falling that quick. A water mist or something. It looks quite nice. I mean, imagine being in this place for real. Of course you would get wet. So I hope it's summer, or you have a raincoat with you, but looks really nice. But here we basically have 2 options, I think. Or is this even an option? In order to not get lost, you just follow one route. Let's say you go to the right, and you always go to the right. And ultimately, you've explored everything. But here we have just a few normal demi-humans. Nothing new. Right, this is a dead end, good. Let's see what we have here. The Spirit Sword, which is an underwhelming weapon. I think, is it even a sword? I mean, it's a curved sword, but it has Rancor Slash, which is basically a... what is the Ash of War called? Let's see, where are the Ashes of War? It is... a blind spot. Do I even have it here? Instead of... why not just show it, right? Why not just show it? It's a very... I guess it has 2 versions, basically. Is it Sword Dance? I think it's called Sword Stance or something, right? Where we have this, and then with a follow-up, the well, 2 slashes, and then the from top to bottom slash, whatever. But with this version, with the Rancor version, you have these skulls as projectiles that spawn. Not that good. I prefer the normal sword stance because you can put that on better weapons. weapons that are longer. But whatever, it's a decent Ash of War. Let's get on Torrent. If you're wondering, we're currently here. Like, we went in here, had a look at this dead end over here, and now we will go to that place. Here we have a small cave with a chieftain and another trigger protecting a shadow tree fragment. I guess this is one of the few spots here that is somewhat dry. And it's funny how this water mist or water vapor, I think that's the one. How this is just a effect that happens around the player when they're in specific locations. It's not necessarily placed in, like, it's not purposefully placed in certain areas of the game. It's an effect that activates when you're in a certain area, which we can see right here because there's water vapor coming down in this cave, but then when we stand in this cave, the water vapor turns off with a somewhat smooth transition. Even on the outside it's looking very dry, and once we go outside, the vapor starts coming again. Now we have two options again, going to the left or to the front. And I would go to the front. We're currently in this location, and to the left we'll loop around somewhere here, I think. Is it even looping around? I don't think so, right? No, it's not even looping around. I'm just talking out of my ass. There's nothing really here. Unfortunate. So yeah, I would definitely advise you going that way, because there's nothing in here. Which is like this area. Unfortunate. And then we have a small overworld boss over here, which is a demi-human queen. And we've seen this area from up there. Yeah, can't look that high up. But this should be... Let's place a marker here. Let's wait for it to appear. Oh, it's over there. It doesn't go that high up. No, I can't see it, unfortunate. But I mean, this is the prospect town up there. Very hard to see, but that's quite the height. Holy shit. But here we have a demi-human queen, we have a few more demi-humans, and other than that, just a dead end. It's quite the nice beach, really, right? We can even get up on that ship, sarcophagus, whatever it's called, by climbing up these rocks. And then we have another flower up here, right? Yeah. There are always like these glove words up here. Even, I don't even know, is it like ghost and grave or just grave? Whatever. Just these flowers. What I'm wondering though is, these things look like ships. So let's first figure out where the front is. Because the front should be... Nope. This looks like the back. This looks like the back, right. And not that I'm falling down here, but they don't really have a front or a back, but I think the one that is lower, if we are going by the common design of ships, the part that is higher up is in the back. So if we go up one of these things, this should be the front, and this over here should be the back. Interesting. Got an ox. So why is it facing that way? And how did they get here? Is it really swimming? For this thing to swim, you either need a very light or a specific type of stone. For example, like brimstone, that has a lot of air pockets or something. Or it's really hollow inside with a lot of air. Because if it's just solid stone, then there is no way that thing would swim without the help of magic, of course. But these things are mysterious anyway, so... and we will see quite a few more of these in later episodes. But now let's go and have a look at the at the island that we've seen. For that, let's quickly go back. And I think this is one of the few episodes where I'm letting the game go into nighttime. Because it looks actually pretty nice during nighttime. And we're close to... yeah, we are close to nighttime. So, how do we now get into... or get to that island? The key is over here. This is where this one cemetery shade is, looking at the island. And here we can descend into a cave. Simply jump down. And now we're facing two options. This way or this way. And let's see. Not very helpful, but we need to go back anyway, so let's continue towards the island. There's not really that much interesting stuff in this cave. There is no boss fight or anything. Like, we have this... isn't there? Yeah. That one is emerging. But other than that, we are already on the surface again. And now we are on the island. Let's see. Oh, this is already killing. Holy shit. For some reason, it looked like we could still walk there at some point. But now we're on this island, so let's see what there is. There are a few things, like there are two things that you want to point your attention towards. This is one of these. On this corpse there is an item, which is the following. The perfumed oil of Rana, which you can use to create like flames in front of you. It's one of these items that you can use as many times as you want just costs a bit of FP. Basically a spell without a catalyst. And that one is pretty decent. It has good scaling. If we have a look at it again. We have a dexterity scaling, which is a very common scaling, or a common stat. Unlike this, for example, the Wraith Calling Baron, you're more likely to spec into dexterity than it is to spec into intelligence and faith. Right? And let's actually use it. So as you can see, it's fairly quickly, and it has some reach to it. Nothing overwhelming, but it's better than most spells that you can use. Then we have this mausoleum here, which, unfortunately enough, is a mechanic. I'm not really a fan of these mausoleums, because it's just a fight against an NPC. And if you've seen the trailer of the game, or the gameplay trailer I think it was, this enemy should ring a bell. Because here we have a dancer. And if you've seen the gameplay trailer or whatever it was, then you've seen this NPC without the stupid white aura that the player fought in the blue flower fields. And I think putting this NPC in this mausoleum is quite the downgrade. Like, if you remember fighting with the samurai character for the dancer NPC, looked much better than this. At least I wish they wouldn't use like the white aura kind of thing. But I also kind of wish we had a small mini dungeon, like extremely small mini dungeon in these mausoleums that are like a few rooms big. Like with room, I mean the room that we have down there, just a few next to each other with something interesting inside. Maybe with a small, not jump puzzle, but with something fun. Or maybe not a jump puzzle, but a puzzle in... like, a puzzle. Something where you have to think a bit, or where you have to do certain things. Like a riddle, maybe. Not a puzzle, but a riddle. That would be kinda nice. Instead of these fights against these seemingly random NPCs. But what the hell? It is how it is. But now we've explored the entire west, I think. We just need to get out of here, and luckily there is a way without teleporting. Luckily this island is not a point of no return. We even get one of these as a reward. And now we're in this ship sarcophagus. Or sarcophagus ship. Whatever. So let's recap what we've seen so far on the western side of the Cerulean Coast. Looking at the map, just a few standard enemies. Cemetery Shades as a dangerous enemy. Then further in this ravine kind of thing here, there are demi-humans with a demi-human queen as a boss. We could go into a cave and visit this island over here with the dancer as a boss. Pretty nice, we even get the entire dancer armor, the paired swords, and this one usable item. The perfumed oil, right? Oil because it's flammable, right? And now we have to explore the south. So let's go there. So far from the intensity, I would call it mild. Like it's a somewhat chill area, except the cemetery shades, I would say. It definitely looks stunning. The gameplay here is, like, from a difficulty standpoint, right? It's not really that difficult. You have a lot of space to evade certain enemies. For example, if you don't want to fight these cemetery shades, then you have so much space to run away from them, which is fairly nice. Enemy density itself isn't really that dense, except in the maybe in the ravine where the demi-humans are. The density becomes a bit more, well, it becomes a bit more denser, but it's not overwhelming. The item rewards so far are decent. I haven't looked at the reward that we get from the demi-human queen. If I remember correctly, you're getting the sword. If I'm not remembering correctly, you're getting something else. Right, we haven't, like, the dancer swords aren't even the only weapon. Like, I think we get the katana, which is pretty awesome, from the demi-human queen, and then we also get this other useless sword that I've already forgotten, like the spirit sword, which is like a dexterity intelligence weapon, which is not that good, honestly. But the loot so far is pretty nice. So now let's see what the south has to offer. And the south actually goes over into two more areas. This already leads into another area. We can descend into a big crater here. And then we can go to the east, which leads us to this strange looking area, over here. And this is definitely the most interesting looking area from the map. But now let's continue and see what the rest of this area has to offer. Here we are getting surprised by one of these dragons. I think, if I remember correctly, this is the only enemy or the only dragon type that we have in this DLC. The undead dragon. We had a look at the undead dragon extensively in another episode. So let's ignore this one and continue. And look, that wasn't my intention. I wanted to do this one. And look how nice it looks. I mean, we have night. with the flowers glowing. It's so nice. I wish I had flowers like these that would glow at night. Like storing some of that. And when we have like chemicals that do that, right? That contain, I don't know how it works. Like, do they contain that energy that they get from light and then emit it, or how does it work? I don't know. We have chemicals that glow in the dark when you shine a light on it before that. But now come to think of it, you want to get here probably as soon as possible, because this is where you can grab the map. So that was my mistake. You probably want to rush to this position as soon as possible to gain access to the map. And then you want to continue slightly to this place, because here we have another cross of Mikara. The only challenge that is in our way is the dragon, and you can simply let the dragon spawn and then go around it. It's not that difficult. Here we have another nice look, or we can have another nice look at the enormous wing of this dead dragon. But now let's see what Mikala has cut out of him. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I abandon here my doubt and vacillation. I don't know what it's called, what that means, but whatever. But here we have these nectar bloom burgeon, whatever it's called. Like another flower that I don't know, which is quite odd. This is nothing that we've found so far. And these are purple. And they have something to do with Saint Trina, which luckily is a character that is going to be explored in this DLC extensively. But now again we have to decide where to go. Go to the south or go to the east. And what I will do today is I'm finishing exploring this area over here. Then I will go south and explore what we can explore at this point in the game. And then I will stop. And we will have a look at this area in the next episode, probably. So, because there's a lot of stuff still missing, maybe not a lot of stuff, but there's still stuff to grab up here. Nothing major, but we've skipped this part so far, and it's a bit, I shouldn't say hard to navigate, but it's a bit, especially without compass right now. We need to jump over certain things. Here we have the sarcophagus, which we need in order to get to the next island part thing over there. Of course, there is another flower up here. Then, well, I guess this shouldn't lead anywhere. Can directly skip this part and go over to this one. There should be another cemetery shade somewhere over here. So you might want to be a bit careful over there. It is. But let's see if this place has something to offer. Except this one cemetery shade and this goat. But I guess not really. I would expect more from this place, to be honest. Because it looks quite compared to the other areas that we've explored so far, this is somewhat hard to reach. Or maybe not, because you can just go up here. I guess I'm taking that back. But I hope you get what I want to say here, right? I mean, you have to go up the ramp only, which means you have to backtrack from this place. Is there something over here? Sadly not. That would be kind of nice if they would place a small cave in here. Not necessarily a dungeon, but just a small cave with something inside. Because this is quite off the beaten path, it's not impossible to find. Maybe lure the player with an item over here to grab someone's attention, and then you get the player's attention, and then you can actually place a cave there. That would be kind of nice. But I mean, we have this place with a cemetery shade, so I would expect at least something up here. Or maybe there is something here and I just can't see it because, yeah, over here. Right, this is probably another cookbook here, right? That I already have. Alright, let's get down. So if you're kind of confused on how I'm walking right now, like, we had a look at this, these rock formations here. And now we're going to the south. And have a look at this very eye-catching area over here. And I think this one has the biggest kind of sarcophagus ship. Or ship sarcophagus. Whatever you want to call them. Of course, we have a giant here that usually would start throwing these pots at the player, filled with the sleep infusion. Because why not, right? Then we have this quite big one over here, with possibly the worst loot ever. And we actually have flowers growing on this thing. So it's been here a very, very long time already. I mean, these things are ancient, but it's still a mystery on how they got here. Never noticed this, but this seems to be a point of no return. And this could have been a very nice big boss arena. It would be kind of cool to have a boss fight here. I mean, we have to jump down this cliff, we can't get back up. Maybe we can, with Torrent's help, but I was kind of disappointed to find no boss in this place, if I'm quite honest. I would expect to have a boss like in the scope of the in the size category of the fire giant, maybe in this place, or maybe the boss is like not like Dragon God from Demon Souls, but something that comes out of this hole, and half of the boss is still in this hole here, in this crater. That would be kind of nice. Maybe the lingering corruption, or the corruption coming out of that hole, because when we're actually going down there to explore that area, you will know what I mean by lingering corruption. Here we have another cookbook that I can't pick up. And then the only thing that we can do from this point on is going down this mysterious hole. We have a lot of slimes around here, so if you want to kill these things, grab your... I think fire damage is the best against them. Might be wrong though. Even though it's raining, I just assume they count as wet. So maybe lightning is a good thing too, but I'm not really sure. Definitely no physical damage against these slimes. No, just descend here. I kind of feel like this item over here is somewhat pointless. Because having a hole like this, a crater like this, already grabs the player's attention. You don't really need an item that draws the attention of the player down here. It's not that hidden, like we have a big crater in the middle of one of these islands, and like in the middle of this island there must be something significant down here. And then we have a site of grace, of course, because we can't get out of here. And then we have this blockade, which is unfortunate that it exists, but I guess it has a decent... excuse me. This area makes me sleepy. But I guess the seal here, this blockade, sealed and obscured by Miquella, has some lore significance. Because, well, he sealed something away down here, and it makes sense that no one can enter this place quite yet, until his strength slowly goes away. Because the cool thing, I feel like, is we are in these shadowlands at the same time as Miquella. And what I mean by that is, while we never see him walking around, it's during the same time frame. Like, he's actively doing something here. He hasn't been here like 10 years ago or 100 years ago and we find him when he's only hollow or something. That's not what happens, right? We're actively going through here, and then he is also actively going through here. So he sealed this place recently, like maybe days ago at maximum, or maybe even only hours. Who really knows, right? But it hasn't been long, that's what I mean. Compared to the base game, where everything feels like, okay, it's been like years, right? Years of war, everything has been destroyed already. And yes, everything has been destroyed here, but the events are somewhat more recent, except... I mean, we don't really know when Mesmer did his thing, but Miquella is actively here and doing something. That's what I mean. But I think I should end the episode here, so we have a bit more stuff to explore next episode. Because while this beach still belongs to this area, we find more, like the enemies that we find here are more attuned to this area. So I don't wanna... And I mean, this area is quite short, so that's more to the time. So let's talk about the Cerulean Coast. It's quite the large area. I mean, it takes a while to fight your way through. It's not the biggest area, but it's also not the smallest area. it's definitely one of the more visually stunning areas in this game. Even though, like, even when you walk through them, because most of the time they look extremely nice from far away, and then the closer you're getting, they're when you're close, when you're in the area, they still look nice, but maybe not as nice as from far away, I feel like. But this one is here, it's not the case really. Looks quite amazing. Gameplay wise, how many new enemy types did we have in here? Because, like, these balls of lightning, the cemetery shades, they're nothing new. Like, we had one new demi-human. Technically, these worm things are new, so let's count them. And, like, the dragon, of course, and the shadowy entities. Like, even though, do we really count the shadow units, like the common shadow units, as new, because they kind of feel like reskins of normal enemies from the base game? But yeah, fuck it, let's count them as new enemies. So, not that many, unfortunately. There is so far no real enemy type defining this area. No new enemy that we find only in this area here. Which is unfortunate, but it'd be like this sometimes, right? Overall, it feels like a chill area. Has some difficulty to it with certain enemy types. Cemetery Shade, Dragon. We have 2 bosses here, which is quite surprising. I mean, so far. I would have expected maybe one bigger boss, but we have 2, let's call them minor bosses, like the Demi-Human Queen and the Dragon. These are like minor bosses in my opinion. Was there another boss? Oh, right, the NPC. I've already forgotten about the NPC. 3 bosses then. Player character and the dragon and the demi-human queen. Which is decent. They could have been a cool boss over here potentially, which is unfortunately not the case. I'm still waiting for something similar to the Hydra from Dark Souls 1. While fighting the Hydra in Dark Souls 1 is not very... Like, the gameplay surrounding the Hydra is terrible. I don't like fighting the Dark Souls 1 Hydras, because it's just like blocking and then attacking. And you have to chase the heads, kinda. But I'm still waiting for something similar where we have like this weird, strange, fear-inducing entity in the water that attacks you from the water, and you have only a few windows of opportunity to attack, to retaliate, right? Specifically like monsters from... Like, I really hate fighting the Hydra. It's giving me this this terrible gut feeling, because I'm feeling quite uneasy because it's near a place of water, and it's this huge monstrosity that's like very alien looking almost, right? I kind of wish we had more of this in this game, like these eldritch horror beings that come out of the water, specifically beings out of the water that, like, right, it triggers a fear in me that is quite nice to explore in a game setting. Not necessarily in a real life setting, but in a game setting. That's fun. I'm a sucker for that. Similar to Subnautica or something. But yeah. Item-wise, we can stock up on some upgrade materials, specifically the Spirit Summon upgrade materials, which is nice. We're getting an armor set, a few weapons here and there, which is awesome. Especially the katana, if it is actually here. if you actually get it from the Demi-Human Queen, which I might misremembering, but I don't think I am, is quite the nice loot. And yeah, of course, second best looking area in the game. For me, the area up here, the red one, still looks quite a bit better, but I mean, I'm just cherry picking right now. Right, world design wise, let's talk about world design. But honestly, there's not much world design to talk about here. Like, we have these things that I'm standing on right now, these ancient stone boat coffin type things, or sarcophagus type things. It's very mysterious how they got here. There's not much indicator. Like, how did they get here? It's a mysterium, right? We don't see them actually floating in the water, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen any. We don't see them swimming, so how did they get here? It would seem that the water level was much higher up at some point, and then they just got swept here, and then the water went away maybe, or they just came out of the sky or something, I don't know. It's a very mysterious area. The flowers look amazing. It's always raining here. I mean, death is surrounding this area for sure, but more than that, like, it's a magical place of death, basically. But honestly, half of the game is, like, 90% of the game is death themed, honestly. There's death everywhere. But yeah, other than that, world design wise, not much to talk about. Like, we have this mausoleum on the island, which, how did it get there? Who knows? Someone built it up, obviously. But other than that, not much to lore stuff to decipher here, not much storytelling to decipher here. Like, with tombstones, yes, indicating death. We have dead trees indicating death. The enemy types indicate death of some sort. We have this magic sarcophagi here, which indicate death. Or maybe they're containing something. Who knows? Like, maybe like toxic waste. But that comes later, when we descend into the depth of the crater there. We will see that type of thing. But so far, looks like a nice nature-esque place with these weird boat thingies somehow ending up in this place. But let me know what you think about this area and how you like it from a visual and from a gameplay perspective. And I think that's it from me. Have a good one. Goodbye.